Hello everyone, it's Rebecca again. Welcome back to the Photoshop tutorial, part 2 of 3, creating a custom forum signature for the Mojo-Farm forum. And in part 1, we created our new document, talked about the size of the document, particularly how it displays on the tablet, and explored the Photoshop workspace and the layer palette. We used the shape tool, and we just started getting into layer styles. We started with the layer styles using the style button on the bottom of the layer palette. Now we're going to move on into Photoshop's styles from their style libraries and how to use those canned styles and then edit them yourselves. And then we're going to use some clipping masks, and then moving into part 3 we'll start placing our images and going on into text. So why don't we go ahead and get back to Photoshop and get back to our tutorial. Still pretty boring though, because I think I want to put some ice features in here, or I know I do. So I think I'm going to look and see what Photoshop has in their canned styles. Photoshop has sets of styles already in the library here, or up here actually it's already open. You can see it says styles right behind those swatches. We can pull that up and pull it out so we can take a better look at it. Now I have additional styles put in here. You're not going to have this many if you open up your styles and you haven't opened them before. You can add more by, see this little menu right here? It's got a little fly up menu, and you're going to have different kinds of styles, maybe textures, and if you want to add them to your style palette, click append and that'll add them on. You don't want to replace what you've got going, you just want to keep adding them in there usually. So I'll just cancel those because I think I've got probably most of them out already, and I don't want to choose a solid style because I don't want this center fill that I've taken away to come back. It's just going to fill in that shape again. I want to still have a border, so I want to choose something that's a stroke. So you can see like these ones are strokes, and I've got some shiny ones. Let me look for those. There they are. You can find more styles too on the Adobe Exchange, and I'll open that up for you in a second so that you can see exactly how that works. Maybe this shiny one. Okay, I like that one. So I like it, but it's not quite perfect. But I really like the texture of that. It'll go great with the ice. So let me just click these little arrows and make that small so that's not in the way. And but look, it's just too far to the edge. But you can see all of the effects that it threw down, just like it did for us before. When we did it all just manually. And so let's just click on this stroke, and sure enough that's on the outside again, so we don't want it to be there. So let's say center. That's good, but look what's going on with this drop shadow. That looks pretty weird. So let's go up here to the drop shadow, highlight that. Okay, it's got a funky contour to it, adding to its style, but I don't really need that. So let's invert that. Oh, that's much better already. And the size is a bit big, so let's bring that size down a little bit. Maybe. Let's scrub that and go about 11. That's good. It's got a little inner shadow going on. I don't like the darkness of it, so I'm going to change that to a blue. It's not a harsh blue because it's got a blending mode here, and I'll talk about blending modes in a little bit later on in the tutorial too. But let's just choose sort of a dark blue shadow. Okay. Now we still have our empty middle, and here, now I'll turn off the background so you can see that it really is empty. Okay, the transparency shows as a checkerboard background, so that's showing the checkerboard transparent background because I've turned off the little eyeball of my background, so it's showing that, but it's really, I'm not seeing my drop shadow at all, and so I'm worried that I might not see other things that I might do to my project, so I'll still leave on my background for now. Okay, now we want to actually have a background here, but we don't want to mess with our border, but we want to follow that same shape. So I'm going to show you a little trick here. Remember I was telling you that this is your color on the left of this little link, and this is your vector mask thumbnail right there. Well, that's your shape. That's basically your shape. And so what I want to do is I want to have a selection of that shape. So what I want to do is push down your Command or Control key, and see now how my cursor changed to a pointer. I can click on that little thumbnail, and look, now I have the little marching ants, the selection right there on my shape. But I don't want to do anything to this layer. In fact, I have no layer right now chosen, or selected as active. So what I want to do is come down and choose my background layer because whatever layer I add, I'm going to add a layer now, is going to be thrown on top of whatever active layer I'm at. So I want it to be on top of my background layer, so I'm going to choose my background layer, come down here to the bottom of the layers palette, and see where it has this little icon here where it says create new layer. We'll click that. Now we have a new layer. Excuse me. And just so I don't forget, I'm going to I'm going to name it shape background. Enter. And so I can see that. Well, I want to fill this because I'm actually going to use it as a clipping mask. So I've still got my selection going. I've got my layer, my empty layer highlighted here, and it's showing me that it's an empty layer because look, it's showing me that same transparent checkerboard. So let me come up to Edit, Fill. Now I'm going to fill it with a color. 50% gray is good because I'll see that right away in the icon, and it'll tell me that that's my clipping mask. So I'll just leave it there. It doesn't really matter what color it is because it's going to go away when I throw the image down. Let me show you. Okay, now I have the gray behind my border, but I still have my selection, so I want to deselect that. Come up here to Select, Deselect, or just Control D. All right, now I want to bring in an image to use as a clipping mask. I want to still keep that shape background selected and come up here to File, Place, because I'm going to place an image file. Now I'm placing the file, not opening a file, because if I were to open a file, it would be open in another tab. And so we don't want to do that. We're placing it into this project that we've got going. And so the image that I want to use is this sort of wallpaper that I found on the web. Now it's showing me, it's not committed to the project yet, so it's showing me the X through it. And I can see that because it's got the X, but it also up here it has the check mark when I want to commit my transform, because it's already assuming that I'm going to want to resize this, and I do. So what I want to do is I want to make it bigger, but I want to make it bigger and still contain its aspect ratio. So here Photoshop wants to use its keyboard's shortcuts again, so I'm going to have to go over the corner of it so I can get this diagonal arrow. At the same time, I'm going to hold the Shift key. Now that would constrain my height and width, but look, I want to constrain the height and width, and I want to come out from the center. So I'm going to hold the Shift and the Control Option key So those two keys, I'm going to pull them out, hold those down while I pull these out till it's the width of my border. And then I'm going to let go of all of those, of my mouse and those keys. Now I'm going to commit my size. All right. That is huge, and it's kind of blurry, but I think it's fine for what I want to use. You can see it's some snowflakes against this background, but that's not where I want it to be. What I want it to be is clipped to this shape so that it's not showing on the outside of the shape. Just like I have that mask going on up here, I want to do the same thing here, but I want to clip it to that gray shape that we put down right below. And since it's the layer right above, I can do that. So see how I have my cursor between these two layers, my thumbnail here and my shape background here. I'm going to hold down my Alt Option key, and look, it turns my cursor to these little linked circles. So I'm going to, while I have my Alt or Option key down, I'm going to click between those two layers. Come on. There we go. Now it's clipped. You can see that right away on our project, but you can also see in the layers palette, because it shifted it over and it has this little arrow now, and it's telling me that it's clipped to this layer. But it's still kind of not in the position that I want it to be in. The gray shape is perfect. It's clipping it perfectly to right behind my my border, but my snowflakes aren't really in the right spot. Well, I can still move them because the whole thing is there. It's just being clipped away. So let me change to my Move tool. I have my snowflake layer now, this thumbnail.aspx layer active, which is my active layer. And it's showing me this kind of icon. I'm going to tell you really quick that this is a smart object. So it's brought in this picture, but it's really calling out to the file that that I have, and it's not a raster a pixel image in my file. It's actually calling out to that other file. So if I were to edit that other file that's in my workshop folder, this link here would be affected. The file here would show whatever changes that I made. So I want to keep that in mind, which is fine for the project, and it won't affect our final product. But you'll see in a little while, in a few minutes, when we wouldn't want to have that, where we would want to have an actual raster image if we wanted to get rid of a certain portion of that. And so anyways, let me get back to the move. Let's move this up here. I'm going to click here and just push it. Oh, a little bit too far. I want to have some of the snowflakes at the bottom and some of the blue. There we go. I think that's probably perfect. All right, I just clicked down here to just deselect my layers. I'm not exactly sure where where I'm at, so let me just check my notes here. All right. Let's start placing some images. I've got some the ice dragon layer and the dragon, so let's go ahead and bring that one in. So we'll just do the same thing. I want to be on top. End of part 2 of 3, continued in part 3.